Fine, nice to meet you finally.
Nice to meet you as well. Yeah. Um, you tell me how to say your name.
Gökçe.
Gokce. Is
Yes,
that
that's right.
is that a Turkish name?
It's a Turkish name, yes.
Okay. And you are in Istanbul right now, correct?
I'm in Istanbul, yeah. I'm back in the city.
Okay, awesome. And well, so tell me a little bit about your travels, because this is also something you said that you would take me to do if I was there, which would be so lovely, but to like
Yeah.
sort of go on the islands.
Yeah, the islands are also situated in Istanbul. So I would take you there if you were here. It's like the islands are kind of a place where you easily can get away from the city because, as you can guess, Istanbul is very overwhelming and very chaotic at times. But we have these islands very close to the city. You can take a boat, and it takes about half an hour to get there by boat. And there's no traffic, no cars allowed, not even motorcycles. So you can just like ride bicycles or take a horse carriage. Although I think they're forbidden now because we thought it was bad for the horses. But I mean, it's like a getaway from the city and it's very close. So it would be the first place I would take you because I'm quite sick of all the crowds and like the touristic places are always very crowded, although very nice to see, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, islands are a great way to get away from the city life.
Totally. I've been to Istanbul, but only for 21 hours. I was on like
Oh,
this long layover. And so I saw the famous mosque, which I'm blanking on the name for whatever reason. Um,
maybe Sultanahmet.
what's the,
Sultanahmet is the largest one, I think.
okay, all right.
The most famous one.
And then went to the market, or the Grand Bazaar.
The Grand Bazaar, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But it was pretty much a whirlwind trip. So I've been meaning to get back to Istanbul and Turkey in general for a long time.
Yeah, you
So,
really should.
what else do you travel much outside of Istanbul? Like, what else does Turkey have to offer generally?
Turkey is such a great destination for travelers because each town, each city, each village has a different culture, different people, different traditions, different settings, and like the nature is also very diverse. So you have like snowy mountains or like green pastures or riverside or some places even close to desert. So it's all very different. It depends on where you go. Like the Black Sea region is very green. It reminds me kind of like the Alps and Switzerland
Okay.
whenever I go there. My hometown, it's in the middle of Anatolia. It's called Eskişehir, and that means the old city in Turkish because it has many historic sites around it. There is also the recent find of Göbekli Tepe. It's the oldest city in the history
Okay.
found till now. There is Cappadocia. I mean, there are all sorts of very interesting places archaeologically, or if you're like a nature traveler, or if you like hiking. I mean, there are all sorts of things you can do in Turkey. It just depends on what you like to do, or you can just come and like have an adventure and see on the way what it brings you. It's a very touristic friendly country. The people are very friendly against foreigners. And yeah, I mean, if for me, I really love to travel and I go like many different places out of Turkey too. And every time I travel in Turkey, even though I'm Turkish, it amazes me. I mean, each time I find a different side to my own country and to my own culture. So it's quite exciting to travel around here.
Yeah, that's amazing. How is Turkey handling, or Istanbul specifically handling the pandemic?
Mm, well, the situation is we can never trust the news we hear in Turkey because it's quite like everything is kept under control,
Okay.
and you can never tell if it's true or not what you're hearing. But still, I mean, we have friends who are healthcare workers or doctors, and what they're telling us is it's very dangerous. We should be very taking precautions, and we shouldn't be out in the streets. They're telling us this, but luckily, the capacity of our hospitals were enough to handle this crisis.
Okay.
So even though it's a very crowded city, the hospitals were, I guess, never, uh, I mean, they worked full capacity, but they were never turning patients away
Okay.
up until now. That's what we know. I mean, and I hope it's true. So for me, I think it was much better than I would expect in a situation like this, because it's a very, very crowded town. And there are people coming from all places in the world to Istanbul every day.
Right.
So I would think, if you asked me before, I would think like this would be a total catastrophe and we wouldn't be able to deal with it. But somehow it didn't turn out to be that bad for us, I guess.
Yeah, that's really great because I'm in New York and we did hit capacity at some point, and I don't think, I don't think they were trying to turn away people who were really, really sick, but sometimes it was hard to tell, I think, who was really sick and who was going to
Yeah.
need intubation and stuff like that. So yeah, it got pretty severe here in New York City, but it seems to have subsided a bit. I do not have healthcare worker friends, so I can't ask them if that is true. It feels like it has, but maybe I've also stopped reading so much of the news because it was like an onslaught over and over, and I got a little bit exhausted and depressed by reading the news all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Same with me. I mean, at some point, I just stopped listening to the news about COVID, and luckily, I was very busy with work, so I had something to keep me occupied
Mm-hmm.
during these days.
Right.
So yeah, at one point, I just stopped hearing about the news also.
You
But
have
it was,
to.
yeah, quite depressing for all of us.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the islands. Like, what kind of activities are there available on the
Mm.
islands? And also this 30-minute boat ride, is it pretty smooth? I do very
It is.
poorly on boats.
Oh no, it's very smooth.
Okay.
I mean, if you live in Istanbul, there is really no way of getting out of boats because it's a big part of our lives. The city is situated in two continents, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the city is in Europe and half of the city is in Asia. And many people live on the Asian side and come to work on the European side. So every day they take boats.
Okay.
That's the situation for me when I was in university. So every day I would get up in Asia and took a boat to Europe and go to school. Right now I'm
Sounds pretty cool.
yeah, it is very cool actually because the scenery is very great. You know, Istanbul is a very exciting city to look at, like the landscape and stuff. So when you take this boat ride, you're crossing continents, and at the same time, most of the days you see dolphins swimming with the boats, and you can feed the seagulls. Like if you're eating, you know this simit, the round bagel, Turkish bagel,
Okay.
we always take for breakfast. And when you eat this bagel on the ferry, you see seagulls watching you. You know, they want a piece, and they just look at you in the eye, and you have to like also feed them. So some days I used to take two bagels so that I could share one of them with the seagulls, so they would let me go.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's quite fun. So the islands, you can take boats from several different places from the city to the islands, and it's very, very smooth. No, like, I mean, I've never been into a storm or anything. Even like if there are storms, they close the ferry anyway, so you can't get on. So there are few islands. They are called the Prince Islands because back in the day, in Byzantine times, the kings would send their princes off to those islands, maybe to like keep them away from the palace, or sometimes to educate them for different reasons, I guess. And so that they are called Prince Islands. there are three major ones, and no, sorry, there are four major ones, and the biggest one is called the Grand Islands. They are quite different from each other. I mean, in a sense, like they look the same without traffic and like traditional houses and stuff. But Burgazada is much more relaxed. It's very quiet. It has the most trees, although there was a major fire a few years ago. Yeah, there are like four different islands, and they are kind of places. One of the islands, there are more Christian population. On
Okay.
the Grand Island, there are more Jewish population. So they are like, in a way, saying ghetto wouldn't be nice, but like neighborhoods from like Jewish families, neighborhoods of Christian families. Of course, there are always the Muslim population in all of the islands. Our island house is situated in a very small island. It's called the Sedef Island. In this island, there is nothing to do. There is a restaurant, and we have like small beaches. So all you do is get together with the family, spend time in your garden, like walk around the island, which takes around 15 minutes to get all the island.
Okay.
But in the Grand Island, there are all sorts of things you can do. There are like many nice clubs, there are restaurants. The island tour takes very long. I mean, I think it takes around 4 hours or so to tour the island, and the scenery is very nice. So it's like you can stay in Sedef Island for a relaxed day, and you can cross over to the Grand Island, which takes like 10 minutes to go from island to island, and you can have a party time with your friends. So it's very nice. The
Yeah,
island life is it's a very nice getaway from Istanbul.
totally. And to be fair, the fact that there is nothing on your island is kind of appealing too. To just like sit
Yeah,
on the beach and read and not do anything sounds pretty great.
exactly. This is what my friends tell me who has house so crowded, you can't even walk on the streets from the crowds visiting the island.
Mhm.
For our Sedef Island, it's never the situation. Nobody comes there, so it's quite great, I think.
Nice, nice.
So if you would be here, I would first take you to the Grand Island for a night out. Then the next day we would spend our hangover in my quiet Sedef Island.
That sounds great. I will be there. As soon as we can fly again, I will
Yeah,
be
yeah.
there and come into some of these countries. I'm getting quite antsy, especially talking to all these people all over the world. I'm like, I gotta get out. I gotta meet some of these people in person.
So
Um,
you were gonna do the Mongol rally this
yeah,
year,
yeah.
and what was your route? Which
Well,
country did you start from?
so we had just sort of started sending out visa applications or figuring out like where we needed to send visa applications.
Uh-huh.
Um, that sort of predicts your route, like where you can get in. But I wanted to do the southern route, so through Turkey and then into some of the Stan countries.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the idea. But again, it's sort of predicted by where you get visas and where you can get in and
Hmm.
yada yada yada. The
Are you an American citizen?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. So
Um,
what was gonna be the first country you start from
we were actually gonna
for your
start
trip?
from we were gonna start from the UK. I think is
Hmm.
the that's like the first starting line, but there's also a starting line in Prague. So me and my teammate have now decided we might start in Prague for next year, and then go from there. He would really like to go to Iran,
Hmm.
but we have to have a tour guide through there, so we have to figure out if that's possible for us to get that visa to go through, and then if the tour guide can take us for the however many days it takes to sort of get across the country.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I wonder if Sissy got a tour guide through Iran, because I guess I don't think she did.
Where
But
is she from again?
Sissy is from Belgium.
Okay, yeah, so that's how we know each other. But I only know Sissy because she's on the Mongol Rally Facebook group. And so I
Uh-huh.
just, had called out, hey, I'm looking for people to talk to in all these countries. And she hooked me up with a lot of people. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, Sissy is great. So, in your questions, I saw what's your best travel memory. I think I have my best travel memory with Sissy
Okay,
because we took a bus ride through US and we've been through, I think, 23 states or so, or 21 maybe. And it took a month, and we were 40 people on a bus, all from different countries.
that
So
sounds amazing.
it was really amazing. And as a teenager, I also saw your question about the prejudices around for about your country. And I thought myself having prejudices back when I was a teenager, because we had conflicts with, there was a very bad conflict in Bosnia, there was a war.
Mhm.
We always had, as a country, we always had conflicts with Greece. And I'm also half Greek, by the way. Um, so on that bus trip, I just understood that having prejudices is very stupid, you know, because we are like 40 people, all from different countries, from all over the world. Some of these countries, until that day, I didn't even heard the names of, like the Southern American countries. So I met with all these people. There was also Greek people, Serbian people, uh, who would like, I would think about them as like, I could never get along with them or something like this.
Right.
But at the end, I understood we're so much alike as each other. Like, we are all from different cultures. Of course, we have different traditions and a different way of seeing life. But at the end, we are all very similar. We have uh, like our wishes, our dreams. They're also very similar. And like, having a prejudice is just like denying this human side of people. Yeah, so that was my best travel story, and at the same time, my wake up call, I guess, to
Yeah,
meet with
yeah.
all these people. Yeah.
That's a wonderful way to put it, though. Do you to to play on the stereotype question, is there a stereotype about Turkish people that you've heard and sort of want to combat?
Hmm. Well, I used to get very pissed off about things like this, but like, as I said, it's I I put all this behind for a long time ago. Now I can't even think of. Of course there are. I mean, I got face to face with things like this when for instance, when I traveled to the Netherlands. They have this very strict stereotype about Turkish people, I guess. So they kept asking me where I'm from, and when I told them I'm from Turkey, they kept saying, "You don't look Turkish. You don't look Turkish." And I always asked, "What does Turkish look like to you?" Because I mean, if you ask me like, how does a Turkish person look like,
Uh-huh.
even I can't tell you anything, because we are people so mixed. Like, even in my family, there are like 6 different kinds of people, like from different backgrounds.
Right, right, right,
So
right.
Turkish people are very mixed people. Like, they don't, you can't say they look like this. They
Right.
can be dark, they can be very white, they can be blonde, they can have red hair, they can have eyes like Chinese, or they can be like, even like, there are some black people in Turkey, living in Turkey for hundreds of years, because their families were here uh, back in the Ottoman times. So there is not a stereotype like this. So I asked back the question, what do you think Turkish person look like? And they could never answer.
Right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
even they don't really know.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So interesting. I want to talk about that bus trip a little bit. What was your favorite state that you went through? Is there like one state that you were like, oh, this is beautiful, or we had such a fun time?
Yeah, I mean, everywhere we've been through, I loved it. Like North Dakota, South Dakota, New Mexico. I mean, they were all great, but my favorite one was being in Yosemite. I'm not sure which state that is set in, because I think it's like in the joint of two
Yeah, I
states, like
think right.
Nevada and California.
Yeah, that might be
Maybe
right. I
California.
should know this to be fair, but
Mm. Yeah, I think it was like on the like meeting point of two states. I guess it was California, but Yosemite was. I mean, the day since the day I left that place, I want to go back.
oh my goodness, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
and also my husband, he studied in LA. So at the same time, we were in the States, but we didn't meet back in the day.
Mhm.
And he's been to Yosemite many times. I've been just once, but he went there a couple of times. And we're always telling each other, this year we should bring the kids to that place. But we could never get the chance, but hopefully we will.
Totally.
So I really liked Yosemite. I loved San Francisco. I was very homesick when I was in the States, although I had many good friends. I stayed with very nice families. I was always homesick. And when went to San Francisco, I felt like I was in a Mediterranean town, because it had the same flowers, white houses, like. So I really, really loved San Francisco as a city.
Okay.
But I've been to New York more than once. I also love New York. And it
Okay.
reminds me a lot of Istanbul
Yeah.
in a different way.
Okay.
I mean, the crowd and the many different people from around the world.
Yeah.
United States is also very different. Like, I mean, the North and South is very different. In
Mhm.
a sense, it's quite the same with Turkey. As you travel, you feel like you are uh, visiting different countries, and it's kind of hard to understand that this is situated all in one country and there's so different places. It's like that also in States.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna go jump on Google Street View, and it's definitely not the same, but I'm gonna go place to place in Turkey and definitely hop around some of the islands. But thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about your country. That was really amazing. So thanks so much.
It was a pleasure. We're waiting for your visit.
Yes, thank
So
you. Thank you. I will be there
text
as
me
soon as
whenever you
possible.
can make it.
Okay, I will. Will do. And if you're in the US, you holler at me.
Definitely.
Okay.
I
All
hope I
right.
will be.
Talk to you later.